Battery 30%.
Are you all right?
Connected to Bill's
Are
iPhone.
you okay? You look very sad. You don't have to be sad. I know. I know. You can sleep right there.
Meanwhile, Russia and China holding the largest military drills this week, and the largest in 30 years. The war games included 90,000 troops, 400 warships, 120 planes and helicopters. This comes as the US, UK, France, and Germany sanction Iran for supplying missiles to Russia, but they're doing it anyway. Retired four-star general, Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane. General, first off, your reaction to the war games. What's your takeaway?
Well, that's a dramatically large war game, to say the least, given the amount of ships involved. Arctic and Pacific Oceans, Mediterranean, Baltic Sea, and the Caspian Sea, all involved in that exercise. Listen, so our audience understands the most significant geopolitical change in the world in the last 3 or 4 years is the cooperation of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. The degree that they cooperate and collaborate together and coordinate together, and you can see this happening here. It creates a dangerous situation globally. Why is that? Because if China started a war in the Indo-Pacific region over the South China Sea or Taiwan, it's likely that Russia would do much the same, because they know the United States could not handle two, and we would find ourselves in a global conflict. That is the danger that is out there. I was on a congressional commission for 20 months, and that was the major conclusion that we made in terms of the seriousness and the danger that's facing the United States and our allies going forward.
Yeah, even though Russia would certainly be the junior partner by a lot. A joint statement. Now let's talk.
You don't know that. All right, let's see. Wow. That's what they call in parts of the world. That's a load. That's a lot. That is a lot. Congratulations. I guess Ham will call in here shortly. Let me just make sure everything's working. Oh, thank you for the thumbs down. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I bet you wish you could give me more than one thumb down. I don't like this service. When you give me a thumb down, the thumb goes from the top of the screen all the way to the bottom, so I get to see it. I don't know why anyone would join. Why join? I've been on for, it's 11:11. That's an auspicious number, but I think I've been on for just, I don't know how to tell you. Oh, here, 4 minutes, and you already thumbed me down? Why join? It's not for any. All right, he'll come on in 4 minutes. It's not for anything I've said, obviously. It's just to be a DAC. Swell. I mean, people live just to spread negativity and I don't know. Anyway, welcome to it. I was at I was having to hurry to get a bunch of subscription documents overnighted. I was up at FedEx. This is a while ago. And this woman came in. And there was only one machine working. I had to do like 90 pages at a time. And she comes in agitated and yelling. and she's an important writer, and I've got a publishing deadline, and I'm so and so, and my boss is so, and dropping names. And she went to the front. She got the FedEx lady to help her. And I said, you know what? If it's that important, go ahead. And she's going on and she's muttering under her breath and blah, 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 blah. And she said something to me. I forgot what it was. I said, I'm sorry. I just gave you the machine and you're saying something. What is it? So self-important. And I said, hey, you know, whatever. But the lady was amazing. She said to her, as the woman drama took up 45 minutes of closing time, and I don't know if I finished, but the lady, the FedEx lady said to the woman, you know, I would tell you to go to hell, but you're there already. I loved it. That's how I feel about that guy, whoever it is. He's at his own hell. Hey, Frank. Hey, Scott. I skipped some names. Matt. All right, I'll come back up to him. Let me start at the bottom and do it in some logical way. Haters will be haters. Oh, I'm blessed to have you, Jojo. Jojo got the news today about something happening back. Oh, let me see what the words are. Jojo, Boz, Skaggs. Lyrics. Oh, I didn't. I'm totally wrong. Look out behind you. Jojo's got his gun. He wouldn't mean to do it, but he knows. You know he likes his fun. Jojo dig those spinning lights, way out games and dizzy heights below him. Jojo dig those Broadway nights, flashy lines. You know him. He's got you covered. You'll know it right out front. Hey, $50. He'll get you all you want. Jojo dig those spinning lights. All right, there goes the lyric. Jojo, our love can grow. Jojo, now, now, now. Oh, oh, oh. The lyrics aren't as good as the song, frankly. But whatever. Hey, Pizza Rules. Benjamin Schmuel, I'm honestly a very annoying person. No, I don't know. I'm just one of us, destined to walk this planet for as long as we can, trying to learn what we can and do our best, you know? I don't know. Sometimes, the weirdest thing, Benjamin, is getting older, which I am now, frankly. But it's just, there's 1 year young. There's 1 year a kid, but ignoring that. There's 1 year young, and then you kind of sense you're getting older, but it's this quite long period of time where your knees still work, your ideas are the same, and you're not invisible when you walk into a room. Chicks check you out. The only way I know they used to is because they don't anymore. But and then all of a sudden, you're definitely in a whole different place, and your brain. It's not just that the how the world sees you. It's how you see the world. It's how you see other people. It's how it's what you experience. It's the weirdest thing. Um, a friend of mine, may she rest in peace, she used to tell me, um, and I think I've quoted it before, but she said, I've been young, but you've never been old. And I didn't quite know what she meant, but I think I'm starting to. But thank you, Benjamin. It's very nice of you. The one, oh, the cutest. Czech Peach. Naskladano. I wish, Czech Peach, I could go back to Praha and see, but it's all gone, I bet. I bet it's all gone. They got McDonald's now probably, and but man, what a city you guys have. What a beautiful city. And what a history. What a history it was. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous city. A little dark. I mean, I guess that they burned coal a lot. But I'd love to go back to Praha. Actually, the whole country is beautiful. We did a cross country trip, but back then it was Czechoslovakia, so we did Czech and Slovakia. All right, Czech Peach. Pechi Czech. That was my brother. My brother was born in Prague, and his name's Peter, but my dad would call him Pechi Czech. Pechi Czech. Pechi Czech. And we... All right, here we go. Enough comedy jokes. I had the speaker going. Everyone knows I did, but I got to get it going again. You're on.
All right, everybody. I have to travel today, so I wanted to do it early. Again, there was a stock. I don't know anything about it. TNON. This stock has got more hair on it than I don't know what to say, William. They just did an 8-for-1 reverse split. AGP Partners, also on Madison Avenue. They're, I guess, a couple of blocks north of Lynn. They're the sole underwriter of the lending. They just did a secondary 5 days after they did the reverse, and the stock squeezed to 100. Okay, so I don't know. I haven't done any legwork into it and looking at it. I got my feelers out to find out who AG Global, whatever their name is. They seem to be doing a lot of deals, and obviously these guys are all the same people. So, whoever they are, the Lindsay.
Well, you're certainly not recommending buying it.
No, get the hell out of here. What are you, nuts?
Right. Just want to make that
They just
clear.
did a reverse. Everyone that was in the stock got slaughtered, and they did a reverse. It doesn't even look like it was trading that much, so I don't even know what the reverse was. I think they reversed it to there were no shares left in the company. It was an 8-for-1. So I don't know how many shares were issued before. But again, people, I don't know what the parameters were, what made this go up. I'm trying to figure it out. But whoever the finance guys were, they advised the company to reverse it. Then they raised the money, and then the stock popped. Now, I don't know who would run in and buy a stock that trades that high. It was up to $70, $100. People were telling me all over the place. But if you were lucky enough to own one share of it, I hope you sold it. Otherwise, there's no way to be around this thing. Anyone who got stock in this thing probably flipped it, shorted it, sold it, whatever they did. So that's basically it. That is a short squeeze, nothing else, nothing more. If you were in it, you probably got wiped out because the company reversed the stock. So for those thinking that it's a wonderful thing, they already slaughtered everybody in here. So the only people that made money are the people that just financed this company, got stock, they priced it, who knows, $4, and it's 10, it went to 100, who knows where they shorted it. All right, so that's Wall Street. So the people that funded this thing made a fortune, everyone else got wiped out. Ta-da, there you go. That's what it's all about. But again, you can see when you catch somebody short what happens. That's why we're here. I'm here for a stock to close at 2, next day trade up, next day up $50, $70, $100. That's what I'm here about. We got 38 trading days to go. Pat Byrne is going to enforce stock settlement. Donald Trump is going to appoint Pat Byrne. He's going to fire Gary Gensler. DJT stock, I also assume it's going to go. I don't know why they haven't really hammered anybody yet there. But again, I believe in that stock. I don't know what the company actually does. Truth Social, I don't know what they do. But again, there's 700 million shares short. We've seen the data. They've only pressed the bet. They shorted it into the assassination attempt. I don't think Donald Trump and Devin Nunes are going to go away and not say anything about it. GameStop made $4 billion by a short squeeze. GameStop is still selling another 20 million shares, and people continue to try to buy the stock. I don't understand it, but good luck. Again, you could buy the dip, sell the rip in that name. All the people that are pushing it higher, take advantage of them. That's what I would tell you. You can do that every day. All right, let the diamond hands, let them keep buying it and pushing it up. When the stock sells off, you buy the dip. When it pops back up, sell it, make 30, 40, 50 cents a day, and make it your own slot machine. All right, as long as they keep pushing it, you can keep doing that. All right, I'm not here to do that. Again, I will be doing that at the end of this when Pat Byrne is in charge. I'm handing the baton to him. Pat Byrne is the most trusted guy in the world that will end this crime. These thieves that are here, they're sitting there in a panic. They have no idea what to do. They know Devin Nunes. They know Patrick Byrne. They know Gary Gensler's getting the boot. And they're hoping on a wing and prayer, that hopefully Donald Trump got killed. Well, that didn't work. Donald Trump's going to lose the election. That's not going to work. So now what are they going to do? Nothing. This 38 days, William, by next Friday, we would be down to 33 trading days. I told you around 25, I'm going to try to set up the appointment with Pat Byrne to get a call going on and go over what he's talking about and how he's going to try to fix stock settlement. And I can guarantee you, if you watch his videos, he's not going to treat these guys lightly. All right, you go ask Mark Cohodes, anyone, how he was treated. Go ask Johnny Tobacco about Pat Byrne. You can reach out, you go on Twitter, go ask him, say, what are your thoughts of Pat Byrne? Everybody knows. John Tobacco helped Pat Byrne. He made a nice payday on the short squeeze from $3 to $128. All right, so people that helped out made a lot of money. All right, that's how it goes. William, did you have anything to say? Nothing?
I found the name of that group. It's called Alliance Global Partners. Alliance
They're on
Global Partners.
550 something Madison Avenue. I actually checked to see if they were in the same building as Lynn. Birds of a feather flock together. I reached out to my friend to find out who they are. All right, because these guys all run around the same circles. There's a bunch of brokers. They're going to do a deal. They call their buddies, and then they try to get it going. That's what they're doing. That's all they did. All right, but again, I don't recommend the stock. I'm just showing you that the stock screamed to the moon, not because longs were pushing it. Right. That stock squeezed to the moon because somebody was shorting it the day before. We traded 28 million shares the day before, went from 2 to 4, and someone in that group got crushed, and they took advantage of it. And as it went, they did the secondary, and they caught them all short. That's how it worked. How they caught them, what they did, I don't know. These are brokerage firms. These are guys that have ties to the industry. These are short sellers. They know how to screw other short sellers. I told you, Wall Street, these guys would kill their own mothers for a quarter. That's how they are. So these are probably a group of short sellers. They did the financing and then tried to roast whoever was shorting it. They were probably laughing. Let's do it this way. Whatever their trick was, that's what they did. So again, I personally never chased anything. I told you, if you knew about that stock, you should have been buying it at $2 or $3. Not talking about it at 100. Right? Those where retail people get their asses reamed. All right, that's why I told you. GDC is a professional stock here. There's professional people here that are accumulating it after the spike to 12. Would I be part of that? No. When it was down to 2, 3, 1, that's when you buy it, not chasing it. This is a professional play. Do I think that's over GDC? No, but I think it's for professional people. The short interest went in that stock from 65,000 to 1.2 million in a couple of days. So someone is borrowing shares and shorting that stock. Even though there aren't any shares to borrow some days, the next day there's 900,000 to borrow. I don't know how it happens when 40,000 shares trades, How could you borrow 800,000 shares the next day? Who's creating fake shares? Pat Byrne told you about that. That's how it works. Anything else, William? Just give me some thoughts, and again, and I'll feed off of that.
Just some people bought. One guy bought, I think, 17,000 finger. Talking about the price.
I had a conference call this morning with a group of people. I told you they're waiting for William. They're waiting for you. If you can arrange a call with the CEO. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. You said you were working on it. I told you listen, the interest is growing. They met with the big brokerage firm. I'm not going to give the name because I don't want the shorts to call them up. My friend works at the brokerage firm. I told you what the questions were. The big avenue revenue is going to start to come in. I don't know how big it is. He didn't tell me. He told me to focus on that. That's going to be a big thing. He also told me that they changed auditors, which came out in the filing. I forgot about it. Someone brought it to my attention. They had to change it due to customer demand. So they must have got a new customer that wanted them to get a bigger auditor firm. And he says it's very common for companies to go get stronger auditors as they grow. That's what he told me. Nothing to worry about. That's what he heard a week ago. So again, I wasn't at those meetings. I know nothing about it. My friend's an institutional broker, and he was part of the call with the company, so he knows about it. All right, so it's all good. These guys are upside down. They're short 230 million. The real short 1.7 million. Just look at it. It's not even trading. How are they going to get out of it? No one's selling. People, these are classic signs that it's getting ready to go. No more selling. They've made all these sales already. What's the real short going to go to 5 million shares short? One gentleman put up that I forget the percentage of the float that is short. William, he went through all the holding and stuff like that. Hold on, let's see if I can find it. It's a pretty good post from yesterday. And listen, I like to thank everybody for putting up your own opinions and things that you see. Because, me and William, we miss plenty. There's plenty of things here we just miss. And I appreciate it because you showed me a couple of things. And this guy broke down the institutional ownership, the ownership from the insiders versus us and the percentage of the float. There's 52 million shares outstanding. The insiders own 44 million, 45 million of it. Insider ownership is 85%. 85% of this company is owned by insiders. And there's 11 total insiders. You tell me how are they going to get away with this? And I thanked the gentleman, I put up again, great post. Hold on one second. I just put it up again. It's right there. He put it up, and it shows you that. Do you realize how devastating these numbers are that just this gentleman put up? Let's look at the numbers, William. I just retweeted it.
I don't know how to look that up.
And we met at the dinner. All those big holders, many of those big holders are right there. I don't remember their names.
They were just there to convince us they're holders. They just sell all the time. That's
yeah, they traveled around the globe to go sit and have a free dinner. That's what they did it for. Right? You don't understand the devastation this guy just put up. This is just amazing numbers, which I didn't look into. I was stupid for not looking into it. But 85% of this company is owned by 11 people. Can you imagine how big the short is? It's massive. I know a group that owns 25 million shares. Where are the shares? What, are you kidding me? Listen, they could keep playing their games. They can't hide it anymore. 200 shares, they moved the offers down. 100 shares, it's nonsense. I would do if we were all the short seller, everyone on this call, and I don't know how many people are here, you would do the same thing. Hurry up, move 200 shares, sell 100 shares, hit the bid for 100, move the offer down. Let's scare them. Let's do whatever we can. Let's cross a lot of stock today. Let's call Capybara up. Let's call Timothy Sykes. Let's do anything we can to try to knock it down. That's all they're trying to do. And it found a level. I told you, benchmark has a target of 5 plus. Who's selling it at 210, 200 shares? It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. And when it does happen, you're going to say, what the F? Why didn't I play? And I'm not telling you to buy it. You make your own decision. I tell everyone I meet who's skeptical in any shape or form, I say, hey, listen, don't buy the stock. Just buy one share. So when it does work, you can tell you were part of something that is a major thing in history when you see the short squeeze. Buy one share. Teach your kids how to do it. Buy them one share. Tell them to watch it every day. It's $2. You can't even buy a can of soda for $2 anymore. Buy one share of stock. I remember when Amazon was $9.10. And the only reason I never got involved with it and I followed it was because they kept losing money on every transaction. And they just kept saying they're going to build market share by losing money all the time. If you said that today on Wall Street and says, hey, I got a company, we're going to lose money every day until we don't, they'll kill the stock. They'll kill you. Am I correct, William?
Yep.
You got to make profit. People, finger motions got to make profit in 3 hours. I don't know about you, but they're showing you that they're getting contracts with the biggest players in the world. And it takes a little time to drive that revenue and to drive the profitability. And I believe they're close to being profitable. That's what the CEO said on one of his last calls. And I think we'll get clarity on that when William speaks with the CEO, whenever that time comes up. All right. So again, I always tell people you don't have to buy a zillion shares, buy one. At least get the education you would not have. You have to go to Harvard. You can't even, Harvard Business School wouldn't even understand this. How to trade a short squeeze. All right. If you own that other piece of garbage that just went from nothing to 100 pre-market, get out there and whack it out. Don't let it go higher. You make those sales good till canceled. GTC. If people were using GTC orders in that stock, Telon, whatever it's called, the stock never would have traded to the moon because going up from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, there would have been sellers all out there, all making nice money. But instead, they took advantage of nobody owning any shares and moved it up. That's all they did. And then they drop it back down, and here it is. They squeeze somebody. Now the stock has a $10 level, right? And when the stock at TNON, I think it is, right? It's $10 level. Now people that are in it who paid, $3 for it, if they didn't get out of all their shares, they brought in people now that want to buy the dip. Hey, this stock was just, whatever. I'm going to buy it at 10. Take a shot. All of a sudden, you start bringing in support into it. Wait a second, Wim. That sounds just like GDC. Spike to 12, pull back to 6. People come in and support it. Wow, same thing is going on there. But again, TNON, I know nothing about it. GDC, at least I followed it for 5 months and understand a lot more about it. All right, so there's a big difference there. MLSS, I still own. I don't look at it. I paid $1 for it. I told you that. GDC, we sold into the hype, into the run. A lot of good professional people are buying it back, 550, 570 area. I actually only know one person who sold it, who paid $555, sold it $609, something like that, and he's bidding again, back down for $10,000 again. So he bought it, sold it, he made money the first time, but he made a quick $5,000 again, and now he's buying it back again. So if he buys it back at $550, 10,000 shares for $55,000, he's made so much money in it already. He's buying it for free. He's using profit. That's how you play the game. All right, so again, finger motion, I've described it 1,000 times, 38 trading days. By next Friday, we'll be down to 33. By then, I'll be setting up the meeting with Patrick Byrne to set up a call, me, William, and Patrick, to go over his plan when he gets into the administration and how he's going to expose and wipe out these guys. The rules are on the books already. Chris Cox, former chairman, said he's working on rules to force illegal naked short selling, manipulation. That's all we see is manipulation. This is coming to an end. I put up the video, the deep capture, the movie. Please watch it. That's Pat Byrne. This guy's not fooling around. I put up Judd Bagley and how the naked short sellers like Jeff Easton, the toxic lenders, get companies. I'll give you an example. The video's up. Let's say Finger Motion is the same as Sedona. It was SDNA, the symbol of that company. Public companies, they go to a lender. The lender in Sedona's case was Amro. The lender in Finger Motion's case was Jeff Easton. They both sign a document saying they will not naked short the stock. They will not short your stock. Let's just use that term. That doesn't mean that their cousin, their brother, or their mother won't do it. They won't do it, but they have this debenture that allows them to convert stock at the lowest possible level. In Sedona's case, Amro had the debenture. They went and got Rhino Advisors to be the hammer or the naked short seller. We don't know what LLC Jeff Easton is using. We don't know the name. It's obviously whoever's doing that is tied to the real short. They're the same people. All right, just think about it. Both shorts are sitting here, short the stock, and that one person covers this share. This stock is not showing you that this is the bottom, there's no more selling. Anybody who's short a stock and there's no selling and they can't cover, turn around and you buy it. If you were short 10,000 shares at 250 and the stock is standing here for 3 weeks in a row, you would say, fuck this, I'm covering my stock. And go short someplace else. It's not going down. It's funny how they're standing here like they no fear at all. There's fear. They don't know what to do. Don't think about what they're not doing. They are in a panic. Jeff Easton's pissing his diaper, the fat fuck. And if he thinks he's stealing from my family and he's bullshit line that he's a good guy, it ain't happening. All right? You know, hold on a second. I'm on a call. But again, these people are not getting away. Hold on a second. People don't. They're not getting away, and we now have the next president of the United States, and we have Patrick Byrne and the SEC chairman getting the fucking boot kicked out of him, getting kicked out. All right, he's been covering. How do I know he's covering? Go look at the MMTLP hearing when he was in front of Congress and they asked him questions about MMTLP. He didn't give one answer. We're in the business of investigations. We can't give you that answer. What's the blue sheet? We don't know. They ducked everything, and those poor people in here have 700 days being robbed by criminals, and they're protecting them. All right? I don't know what this 210 is. The stock just went 210, 211. As soon as it goes 210 bid, someone hits the bid. I don't know what this number means. 210, obviously, when it breaks 210, it starts to scoot. I don't know why, what's in their head, but if I was short 1.7 million, I'd be telling the naked short, fuck you, and start covering. I've overstayed my welcome here. But they're tied together, and they will move in unison. The naked short will let the real short cover first, because obviously that's his mother. He's going to let her cover first. And then the naked short will take the beating. These guys are going to blow up a prime broker. They're going to blow up a brokerage firm. Wherever they're parking this stuff, they're going to get blown up. And it's not going to be for 10 million. It's going to be billions of dollars. 230 million shares at $10. All right, down $8 is 1.6 billion. Just do it. Every $10 is $230 million. Those two is 2.3 billion. Excuse me. That's right, William? Yeah, 2.3. They multiply by 10. Yeah, so it's 2.3 billion on every 10. They're gonna go to jail forever, and they're trapped. This stock trapped them. And you see now they offer it at 209, William. All of a sudden, they don't want any momentum in the stock. So they're listening to the call, William.
Are they?
Oh, absolutely. The stock was just 210, 211, trading 100 shares back and forth. All of a sudden, they hit the 210 bid, and now they offered 1,800 at 209. We were like 37,000, we're up to 44,000 in the last 2 minutes. You know, there's all kinds of activity. There is no activity, but whatever it is, it's there. Now they offered it at 208. Now up to 45,000. There's obviously, I told you, this is not a computer generated. This is some idiot. This is Jeff Easton's mom hitting the sell button. And people, this is how you watch. All they're trying to do is distort. They traded at 207. So in 3 seconds, we went from 211 to 207, and it looks like a big sell program's coming in. It's just them playing games. Again, I can't tell you what to do, but I like to buy them when they don't want them. When they stop and they stop selling and you go to buy it, it'd be impossible to buy. Teach your kids, buy them one share. That I can tell you. One share, educate them on the equity markets. What happens when a stock gets squeezed? How does it trade? How does it look? Imagine you buy them a share at 208, all right? And the stock runs to 100. They can sell it. Pulls back to 80, they can buy it back, sell it back at 120, buy it back at 100, sell it at 150. Just this one share. It teaches them how to see the value of a stock trade, how it runs up, how it goes back, and say, oh my God, I made this much money. And then they understand the numbers and how it works. One share. You're never going to get this type. When this volatility kicks in, when it starts to explode, it's the same type of thing that you saw like in GameStop. We're going up $50 a day. Unfortunately, in finger motion, it's going to happen a lot faster. This will not be a long, drawn-out process. When these two clowns go broke, they're going to be racing to cover as fast as they can, and it doesn't end. It just keeps going until it runs out of gas. That's what's going to happen. It's just going to keep going. And when it runs out of gas, they fall back to earth. That's what happens. So when it goes, you always take your money off the table, nice and easy, make a few bucks. And whatever you want to hold on for the home run swing, like imagine you sold it all, just to make believe, you got 10,000 shares and you sold it from 30 to 100. With a $60 average, you sold 8,000 shares. You made a lot of money, and now you got 2,000 left. It goes from 100 to 200. You sell 1,000. Now you got 1,000 shares left. It goes up a little bit more. You sell 500, and then you say, "Oh my God! Now the stock is $1,500. I'll sell my last 500." Or you could sell 100, 100, 100, 100, and that's how it brings up your average from the bottom up. And if we would have done that in GameStop, the highest we sold it was 118. It went to 5 something. So I didn't even listen to my own thought process because I didn't think it was going that high. But now you know how high it can go. All right? History is going to repeat itself. We have them trapped. GameStop, we didn't even know who was trapped. It was Merlin Capital. I had no idea who he was.
Are these phone calls a part of history?
I guess so.
Because they keep repeating themselves.
History keeps repeating itself. What are you, Richard now? I'll be down in Baltimore for 2 days. I got to drive down to Baltimore for a wedding, so I have to leave, and I'll be doing. I hate Baltimore. Hate it.
It's
I wish there was a baseball game. I wish there was a baseball game. I'll go see a game, but there isn't. They're playing Detroit. But any questions?
Let me see. Yeah, DJT first or finger first?
I don't understand for the life of me how Donald Trump and Devin Nunes are quiet. I can't make them speak. But if I was in their position, I would be murdering them. There's not even a question. I would be demanding. Devin Nunes said on the Wise Guy show the other night, they are investigating. So I guess their silence is for a reason. All right, I think they know that something's coming down on that. And whoever's playing games there is going to get butchered. That's it. There's nothing I can say. Donald Trump loves to make money. Everyone knows GameStop was a short squeeze. They made $4 billion doing nothing. They had empty stores going out of business. Now they got $4 billion, and now they become, Apple Computer. That's from a short squeeze, nothing else. And a short squeeze is great. The company has money. They can hire people. They can try a new business idea. Who knows what it's going to be, if it's going to work, but at least it's making the economy go again, right? Versus the money in Merlin Capital's pocket and him and his investors making, splitting up whatever they steal.
You think finger will squeeze? Will it squeeze before the election, after the election,
I
before
don't
the
know how.
inauguration,
Listen,
after the inauguration?
everybody on the call, we all have our own thoughts, right? If you're short the stock, what would you do? If you were short DJT, would you stick around? These guys have pressed the bet so much down to $17, trying to hold it down. They're trying to get people to sell, but again, the volume is too light. So the only way to get people to sell is to drive it down fast and come back and scoop it up and create volatility. When the stock crashes, you can see the press. Oh, it's down 20% today. When it runs up, the stock is soaring. They try to create this illusion. The stock was $50. When it goes past there, then you can write a story. Until then, it's a non-event. But again, if you're Donald Trump or Devin Nunes, he's already made the stink about naked short sellers, and he's going to punish them. He's already said go watch, I can't get the video, Wise Guys, ask Johnny Tobacco to post it. He said it on his TV show. I watched him say it. They're investigating the short sales and DJT. I don't know who's doing it, but that guy was on the House Intel Committee. He's no fool. So again, it's going to happen. I don't understand how he's letting it go on. If Donald Trump gets into office, puts his hands up and says, I'm the next president, he's sworn in, and the first words out of his mouth is, hey, get the short sellers in DJT, every moron on the other side is going to yell, look, he's helping himself. Why would you let it go that long? That's why I believe it's going to happen before. If it goes the distance and Pat Byrne comes in, then Pat Byrne will set it straight. Pat Byrne told you, there's bad people here, we got to get rid of them, and we need to have stock settlement. After fair elections, remember he's a libertarian, after fair elections, we need to do stock settlement. Right now, the SEC is allowing this stuff to continue. I don't know why. They know who the short sellers are. They know the gypsies. They know them all. They're all using that loophole, from Webbush to Lynn to Aegis to Benchmark to whatever this SAG Partners, whoever these guys are. They all do it. They do it all the time. I'm just laughing. The stock was 210 to 211, and all of a sudden now it looks like, it's 207, last trade 207, 300 to buy, 600 for sale at 208. So for 5,000 shares, they're trying to set the tone on the stock. That's $10,000, by the way. Now that disappears, and now it's 400 by 3,600 at 212. As I told you before, once they stop selling, look how much the spread opens up. And I can guarantee you that 1,200, the 3,600 to 212 is the short. And if it wasn't there, it'd be 207 to 225. That's how big the spread would be in this name, because I don't believe anybody's selling. Because, William, I remember getting orders as a seller in a stock. And I'll just say, I'll make believe. Let's say it was at the time it was EF Hutton, and I remember it because I had, I think I had 800,000 to sell, and the stock was like 39 3/4 to 40, and I was the 40 offer. And they take 3,000, 10,000, then someone jump in front of my offer. But I was instructed they wanted $40. I was not allowed to go lower. That was my limit. So I always had like 60, 70,000 on the offer. As they started to take it, I refreshed it. If there was 60 left and I sold 40, I put another 40 down. That stock was not going through 40 until I was finished selling. When I was finished selling, the stock would take off. This stock, every time they take the offer, someone jumps in. It's like someone just jumps. It's like a foxhole. One guy jumps in, someone else jumps in. Another guy jumps in, another guy jumps in. Endless selling. In the old days, when I finished selling, the seller was gone and the stock would go up. Naked short sellers have given these guys permission to keep selling endless amounts until the buying stops. People can't buy the stock every second of the day. That's not how it works. You buy it, and when you're done, you're done. But in these stocks, the selling is always there. 100 shares, 200 shares, 500 shares. Just keeps coming. If I was short 230 million and 1.7 million shares, 250 and 370, whatever the hell it is, of course, I would sell another 500 down here. What are you kidding me? I do it every day. I'd be selling it at the market. Sell 200 at the market. Sell 300 and just keep marking it down until someone gets a margin call or someone bails. That's all they're looking for. They want to turn us against each other. That's it. And remember, a short squeeze, it's like Candy Camera. Just go watch an old TV show, Candy Camera. They say all the time, when you least expect it, that's how it happens. I don't know that stock yesterday it went up. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of hair on it. They reversed it, squeezed it, raised money, everything in the same breath. That sounds like it's premeditated, my friends. That's not a natural short squeeze. That was premeditated something. Do you agree on that, William?
Yeah.
In 3 days, they did a reverse 8-1. They announced the secondary. I forget how many shares, $4 million plus warrants, or the usual warrants, the same characters, and then the stock squeezes. So they just took away the float. It didn't even look like it was trading a lot before that. Reduced the float. I don't know. Maybe it went from 10 million to 1 million to 2 million shares or something like that. I don't really know what it was. And all of a sudden, there is no stock, and now the thing takes off. The SEC allows that to happen. They're criminals for allowing that to happen in the first place. It's not the company. It's the brokers and the people that oversaw the secondary offering. Those people, and they just take. There's benchmark. There's Aegis. There's all these characters like that. They're like flies or Wedbush. They all do these deals. H.C. Wainwright's another character. They all do these deals. Warrants, give me warrants. Everybody does the same thing. And their Rolodex is the same 50 goddamn hedge funds. I got the deal. I'll do it. That's all. It's the same people. Hey, call up Lynn. Call up this guy. Call up that guy. See if they're in for it. What are you going to do? We're doing this. Okay, I'm in. I have a friend that's a very wealthy guy, and he's in that network. He always calls me up, and he always gets a small piece of those deals. He's actually the one that sent me the text about that name. I wrote back to him, who are these guys? He didn't get back to me. He's the guy that saw, yesterday we got off the call, everybody. My friend bumped into Phil Lavaliere, is that his name?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he bumped into him. And his quote to my friend said, hey, how you guys doing? Oh, we got a headache that these people keep. There's a small group of people who think that we're toxic lenders. Don't believe it, he told my friend. Now my friend knows me, he was laughing. He goes, you must really be getting to them because all they're doing is telling people don't listen to the noise out there. So their business must be losing customers over it because people are doing their homework, looking into what they're doing. If they can't get the debt, if they can't get the note, they can't make it short because they won't have any protection. Does everyone understand that? It's like getting a police card, right? Hold on one second. It's my friend. Hold on a second. Wait, say it again. Who is it? What's the name of the firm?
Alliance Global.
What'd they do the deal at?
365. I think it was 365.
Did you get any of it?
I tried to. No, it was done with one. I think it was done with Armistice.
Armistice did the whole thing, right? You said they're scumbags, right?
That's what, I don't know for a fact. I'm not the firm and all stuff. But if
Wait a second. How much did the guy make? Armistice? How much did they make on that? You think?
I don't know.
What was the number you thought?
I put 30 million.
All right.
For the morning.
All right. My friend didn't know. I put him on the speaker. Did you hear what he said?
No, not the amount, but
They said he made $30 million today. Armistead. Armistead is one of those toxic lenders.
hey, they
They did
deserve
the
it.
deal. Yeah, they did the deal. They fucked everybody on Wall Street. They made $30 million, and that's who did it. My friend tried to get in the deal. You heard him, right?
Yeah.
He said they did it with one person. Armistead did the whole thing. I gave you that name 5 days
That's
ago.
just short
Correct?
covering anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. But those guys, listen.
I mean,
These are
Armistead
bad.
represents
These
the
are
shorts.
bad. Listen. They took advantage of a short. That's all they do.
The other way around too.
All right, that's how they do it. And that's so they. I told you they fuck each other. I told you that. They don't care. Just steal, 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 steal. There you go. We did the SEC's work for them. People that do the deals, he tried to get in it, couldn't get in it, and the thing took off, and they made $30 million. That's what he heard. You know, that's the game, my friends. And we're on the outside fighting this crime. These guys are operating with no rules, stealing whatever they can. They're going to go out and have a blast tonight while the rest of us suckers are sitting here eating crow, sleeping in a fucking shitty hotel because of these scumbags. That's what goes on. And Jeff Easton is part of that whole circle. And we've exposed him. I don't have time to chase Armistead or this guy or that guy. I'm here for these guys. And they picked the wrong guy because I'm not going away. Any other questions? Just remember, when they stop selling, it's impossible to buy.
What about the warrant?
I don't know. My friend said Flavor Flav was sitting right behind my friend's brother last night at the Yankee game. Anyway, my friend got tickets from an old Wall Street guy who made. He sold his company to Goldman. I think he made $800 million back in the day. And my friend knows him, and he went to the Yankee game with him yesterday. And for those who don't know, it's called Spear Leeds and Kellogg. They sold their platform to their Ready system to Goldman Sachs. The Ready system is what you guys all see in front of you now on all your platforms. It's the same thing. As soon as Goldman got it, they paid $5.5 billion for it. It was worthless. My friend made $180 million. He worked on the desk at Spear Leeds. And that's how people really make life-changing money. But anyway, let's talk about what we got here. So we had 47,000 shares. Someone sold a quick 7,000 shares while we were speaking. Now it's 209, 212. And it's 400 by 3,800. Isn't it amazing? It's always 200 by 2,000, 100 by 900, 400 by 3,800. There's always no bid, and there's always an offer. You always look at it the same way, right? It's always the same thing. Looking at GDC again, it's a 10, 30, well, it's 11 cent spread again. Those are the things you look for. Those are buy signals when you see those things. Buy, B-U-Y. All right. Again, if you want to play
Is that how
the
it's
game,
spelled?
yeah, I guess yeah, good buy. That's how I used to say it. When you buy a stock that's being naked shorted, like K&W, that means goodbye to your money. K&W, just anyone who owns K&W, please go read the toxic note. It's right on the tape. They have the right to convert at the lowest of the lowest of the lowest to the lowest price, which is basically 0.0001 cent, whatever, 1/10 of 1 penny. Is that what it is? 1/100th of a penny.
I don't know. I haven't read it in a while.
Yeah, that's what they do is they keep moving it down. And they'll do the same thing in GMGI. Two companies that received a lot of money. K&W was 90 cents. It's 30 cents. GMGI, I don't know where it was, but it's still the 52-week low is 201. It's $2.36, always hanging in by a thread. The year high was $6. So here's a company fully financed, and yet the stocks keep going down. I thought getting money was great, right? That's what Roy Kitty said. Get all the money you can. It's great. Not when you get into these small stocks and you got a toxic note. When you have to owe money to somebody, you got to pay him back. How are you going to pay him back? No company. If the company's using the money to expand and to do their trials or whatever, there's no revenue, right? What are they doing? They're spending the money. Now the guy comes back to them, hey, you got to pay me back. We don't have any money. Oh, we'll take stock. Where are we going to get it? Oh, we get a 20% discount to the 20-day blah, blah, blah average, moving average. And as you're sitting there saying, okay, why does my stock keep going down every day? Because that's what they're doing. They're pushing it lower so that they can make the difference. So imagine selling the stock at 50 cents and then buying it all back at a penny. You make 49 cents. How many times you can do it? Zillions of times. The more dollars you give them, the more shares you get. That's how Jeff Easton and his friends in Australia are up 220%. Just doing that little transaction. Where are they hiding the trades? All we have to do is follow the wire transfers, their phone records, you name it, their brokers. Drag them all in, and you'll find all the answers. Their cell phones, the people on his trading desk, the one with the orange hair, whatever her name was, the CFO, the CE, what is it, the CFO or the COO? Grab them in. They'll give you the paper trail. And these guys are facing life imprisonment. Life in prison. Not 2 hours in jail, life. When someone loses north of $100 million, imagine losing north of $10, $20 billion, you're going to jail for a long time. And again, the markets, what stocks go up? Virtue up 74 cents at $32 now. Where's Goldman Sachs today? Goldman Sachs up $6 today. No big deal. Their stocks always go up. Just the brokerage firms. Everyone should just open a brokerage firm. That's where all the money is, right? Just keep stealing from every piece, everybody on the street, right? Why would you do anything else? Where's Jeffries today? I'm sure that's up. Oh, Jeffries up 73. Virtue's up. They all go up. Interactive Brokers is now going to accept betting on presidential elections. That's up $5. It's a trading platform. It's up $5. Robinhood, who fucked everyone on the street, it's up 68 cents at $22. They screwed everyone in GameStop. Their stock is $22. That guy's a billionaire. People got wiped out in GameStop. He stopped the buy button. Right? Everybody remember that? They're rich, you're poor. We're trying to fight that. If you don't fight back, you will get wiped out. You, your kids, your grandkids. That's what this is about. All the looting stems from unsettled trades. If these guys had to play fair, that means that they can win or lose, just like we do. Right now, they just win. As you can see, I just pointed them all out. They always win. Economy's going down, they win. Economy goes up, they win. No matter what happens. Wars, they win. Everything goes to them. And that's why they're protecting the criminals, because that's where they make their money from. So finger motion has just been slow, steady. Now it's up to 50,000. It was 47. Now we're up to 50,000. Another 3,000 shares trades. It's funny that there's always nothing for sale, but the stocks never go up. I told you, accumulation. Put your head down. Don't think about moving the stock. Don't think about that. I told you, my friend buys 5,000 every day for a hedge fund. He just keeps buying it, buying it, buying it. He bought stock at 2, he paid 230, he paid 250, he just keeps buying it. At the end of the day, his average will be, 255 and the stock will be 10. That's how these guys look at it. Friends of mine called me up the other day, why don't you tell the guy to just go buy it at the market, try to drive it past 320. I can't tell people to do that. I would never tell you to do that. If you wanted to buy it, you buy 25% at the offer, then you can bid 210 for 25%, 208 for 25%, and 205 for 25%. You get a 209 average. If you want to just buy it and go away, just go buy it. And that's the way it goes. I gave you the short data this week. It's 1.7 million, 1,720,000, up 300,000. This guy is short at an average price of $250. Remember, there's a cost to carry. He's got to pay fees to borrow the shares every day. There's a fee on it. So let's say at the end of the week, it's 2 cents a week. I'm just making up a number. 1.7 million shares every week. So in 4 weeks, he's down 8 cents. So if he's short at 260, he's down to 252. Next week, he's going to be down another 8 cents. Next month, it'll be another 8 cents, excuse me. So you understand his price keeps coming down. That means the most he can make goes less and less every day. That's how stupid this trade is. And the same thing's going on the naked short. He's kind of hold it down here. We don't have the volume down here that we used to have. So it's that number is higher. So it takes a little volume to bring that number down. In the real short, she was short 1.4, now he's short 1.7. He did 300,000 down here. So his 265 average is dropping quickly. And we can see those numbers. I'm not just making it up. I've been reporting it for months or a year. And just go look at all the other stocks that are out there. You tell me who reports on the short, the real short, like we have. We report on it every day. We report on the washing, we report on the real short, we report on everything. We reported on the toxic lender, we reported on the note. I told you my friend paid $10. He put $3.5 million into the company, paid 10. It's 212. He's not panicking. He's bought more to average down, but he's not panicking. He knows what the company's about. So when you buy the stock, just take in mind, my friend, he put $3.5 million at 10. You got 350,000 shares. 350,000 shares. Is that right? I think that's right. I mean, so again, he bought it when he thought it was going to go. He put his money in. That's how big boys play. I got it. You bought 10,000 at 6. You bought 5,000 at 5. I got it. I know the numbers. But you can see no one's selling. No one has been selling. The only seller are these characters. If they take their foot off this sell button and take their finger off of it, this thing will be a rocket. Once it breaks 260, the real short, he's dead. Once it breaks 370, 380, the naked short is dead. GameStop, when that stock was shorted down from 40 down to $3. So the shorts had profit. I'll say their average price on that, taking the high, taking the low, I'll say it was $18, $19. They were in the black until it passed that number. And when it went past it, it never stopped, right? It went to 500. I think we're a lot closer than they were, right? I just told you $18, $19. We're less than 30 cents away from the real short going under, and $1 away from the naked short going under. $1.50, $1.30. That's how close we are. And when we got to 318 the other day, William, how fast did they knock it down? As fast as it traded up, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, everyone, I have to get in the car and travel. I got a long drive ahead of me, and have a great weekend. When I get to where my destination is, I'll repost. William, anything happens throughout the day, give me a call. You guys got a little lesson on who made all the money on that deal that just went out, Armistead, which is a toxic lending firm. They financed the deal. They're working with SG, whatever that is. They all know each other. I told you that the other day. These guys all work together. That firm who gave them the deal, they probably shook them down for a beautiful fee. If you made $30 million, you better make sure we make $5 million. That's how those guys work. And for one person to take the whole deal, you know everybody at that firm made a ton of money today. They're all high-fiving each other, going out drinking tonight, having a good time. While we sit here and we have to watch Jeff Easton all day. We have to babysit this fat fuck. Just think about that. I gave you that's how they do it. Those people going out celebrating, they just ripped up the street, forced some guy to cover. They don't give a shit who they killed. They could kill us. And they're whacking up $30 million. While we sit here and we have to babysit, call the police, the SEC, no one comes. Pat Byrne, I know him very well. When I report a crime to him, when he's in charge, we're going to get it through the gateway. No more that the short sellers can call up and get 1 hour service and attack companies. That's not going to happen. Go watch Deep Capture, the movie. Go watch Deep Capture, the movie. I posted it. If you don't like that one, go watch Judd Bagley. He does the whole thing about naked short selling and how the toxic notes and how it works. Go watch that. It's all right there. I can't possibly post any more proof. China is putting people, shutting down criminals, any banker that's done anything illegal. They're making sure their markets are safe and secure. South Korea is doing the same thing. Our markets need to be 10 years ahead of those guys. Right now, we're 10 years behind them. Pat Byrne will fix it. Just go Google him, read about him, learn about him. That's our guy. All right, William, I got to run.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if you see anything good, let me know throughout the day.
All right.
Thanks.
Call ended.
All right. Let me just see what some of your questions. David, look, you guys want the same rumors / tidbits repeated over and over again. I get that. But I can just repeat what he's said before. There's no change. Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it's changed. We're in September now. David, my understanding, I looked it up. When Finger Motion entered into a S3, I mean, that was the filing. They entered into a engagement agreement with Univest for $300 million. That engagement had a 2-year maturity. 2 years. Which meant that if Finger were to raise money from somebody else, it had to go through Univest. And I don't know the tie the other direction. I assume Univest had to do a modicum of work on the project. The agreement, according to what I read on Edgar, had a 30-day notification. So either party, Finger Motion or Univest, could notify the other party, we're out. 30 days. So based on what I've heard from Ham on these calls, I'm not talking about anything I've heard separately, and based on things I've heard here and read elsewhere, there were rumors of a financing for Finger Motion. Further, that financing is not going to be a toxic note. Now, some people say that the small deal they did at a discount with insiders, I think at $1.50, was somehow dilutive. I see that differently. I see it that look, this is a growing company. Show me a company who has made it that didn't need capital. Amazon needed capital, Facebook needed capital, Wagtime needed capital, Ford Motor needed capital. That's the life. So anyway, I think they did that sale, my opinion, to get through the 30-day notification. I do believe there's a financing coming, in my opinion, because it's been made clear that they're not going to go to Jeff Easton. I think of financing will either be debt or maybe some simple equity offering with a friendly investor. But asking it over and over again, I understand it. David, there's two things. Finger needs money to accelerate what they're trying to do. They don't have to take it, but if they want to get the data that they have to the monetization phase, they've got laboratory and personnel and and science to pay for. They need to buy the top-up minutes. And if they want to expand that business, they need capital for that. This vehicular deal they have, this vehicle deal they have, no one believes in it. No one. Oh, the stock's down. It's bad. It's a bad deal. When I read the news, David, and I'm sure you have read it, it said that they have this contract for all the vehicles in China. China might be in trouble. China might be having problems with real estate. China might be having problems with debt. China might be having problems with its economy. China might be having problems with water. I don't, dolphins expiring. I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing about China. It's not Vatican City. It's not Rhode Island. It's not Luxembourg. It's a big country. It's big in geographic size, the same size as the United States. It's big in population, second most populous country in the world. And it's big in terms of its economy. It's apparently, I just started with some news at the beginning. Apparently, China is now in cahoots with Russia. Thank you, Victoria Nuland and Blinken. It's in cahoots with Ireland. Thank you, Victoria Nuland and all the neocons. It's in cahoots with North Korea. Thank you, Victoria Nuland. They're having the largest war games, according to that general that you just listened to. It's massive. So let me ask you, this rapid response, this data collecting, this emergency vehicle deal in China, as I read the news as it was written, we have to acknowledge that if they speak Chinese as their first language, the way it was written might not be completely accurate. It said they have the contract for all of these vehicles in China. But it takes time. It's annoying. And while that's happening, the selling continues. So you have to ask yourself, is there still a deal? What happened to Univest? What about the dividend? Did you see yesterday that the Finger Motion had to file to change its auditor apparently at the request of an investor? Does that make the SEC say, well, get back to us when you have the new auditor? We want to see the new confirmation of the financials before we give approval on the dividend. We don't like doing it when you're changing auditors. Well, that was announced yesterday. Could that be a delay? Oh, well, the delay, it must be a conspiracy. The SEC must be doing it to hurt us. No, this is an aggressive young company, 10 years old, who started out as a technology so you could use your finger to play games on your phone. And over time, they've built their business based on relationships in China. One, they do the top-up business. They're one of 3 or 4 licensed providers. But yes, there's legacy providers too. But as those legacy providers age and go away, these guys at Finger are able to buy minutes at a discount in China and sell them right away. Now, this is a big part of their revenue. It's low margin, but it's repeatable. And because they get this revenue, they don't need to go back to Jeff Easton. Finger Motion last time, it was disappointing. I forget the reason, but it had something to do with the economic shutdown or something like that. But a little alarmingly, They didn't get any revenue from their top-up business. So they filled in the MMS business, the text messaging business, and it replicated the quarterly revenue. Now, what I expect to see in the next filing is that top-up revenue either catches up or maybe it shows up delayed, but it's going to be back in there. I would ask, why can't they do both MMS and top-up at the same time? I don't know. But that revenue keeps the company alive. They have access to all the data from basically the Chinese government from mobile phones. They're leveraging that with relationship with Pacific Life Re and Munich Re. Oh, it's taking so long. What's the delay? Why don't they tell us about the monetization of it? Why there must be some conspiracy. No, Jeff Easton did a private placement on behalf of Benchmark, crooked Jeff Easton, to raise, I think it was $5 million with hefty discounts for finger motion. Immediately the selling started. Now there's a guy on the Amex that says, there's systems in place. That selling doesn't exist. The shorts aren't there. Ham doesn't know what he's talking about. There's no way there's 220 million shares short. Well, that might be true. I ask you one thing. If FINRA can give us the data each day of the failures to locate, failures to borrow, failures to own, that for some reason have to be in the hurry, hustle, bustle of trading, have to be done in a stock that otherwise trades by appointment, why can't they give us, if in fact there are systems in place, why can't they give us when these positions are covered? This American Exchange guy says, well, it's all the private placements. It's all the private placements. And you don't know that those shares aren't being sold and delivered. Well, I met all those people at dinner. I mean, I've been fooled. I've been fooled by partners. I've been fooled by girlfriends. I've been fooled by all manner of people in this world. Never fooled by a dog. I was fooled by a horse once. Tried to bite me. But I basically never fooled by animals. Fooled by people. So maybe I'm fooled. But I was there at NASDAQ all afternoon with these people from before lunch and later. I was at the closing bell ceremony. I went and had cocktails with them. I went to dinner. And they were all there except for Li or Ling Ling. Everybody else was there. All the big shareholders. All the ones, the original doctor, the original other doctor, and the restaurateur that funded the private placements. None of them had sold. So the Amex guy's wrong. But he's got to make excuses because he worked for Amex for 40 years. There's got to be systems in place. Wall Street is a complete fraud now. Wall Street counterfeits shares and dollars and precious metals and bonds and houses and automobiles. They turn everything into a financialized asset so the few white men who pay for Kamala, pay for Hillary, pay for Ann Wagner, pay for Adina Friedman, the white men who finance DEI, finance, you guys, it's unfair. You've got to have more women. You've got to have more minorities. It's all white men's problem. White men are the problem. They're dividing us. They're all white men. Every single one of them is a white male. And if you dig down deeper, you can find out in 95% of the cases, there's other similarities. They own the government, they own the regulators, they own the banks, they own the DTC, and they own the Fed. They control it all. They control the Defense Department. They control pharmacy. They control who gets financing. Zuckerberg. And who's the one with Amazon that really married a peach of a woman? Bezos. They manage everything. And you, me, we put our money in ETFs. We put it in retirement accounts. We set it and forget it. And we trust these white men who come into our politics and tell us the issue is white men, so you got to get more women, you got to get more blacks, you got to get more Haitians, you got to get more Hispanics, you got to get more Indians. Yet up at top, they are white men. Why? Because they're manipulating us. They're getting into our emotions. And we can see, just like Jesse Jackson once pointed out, that he himself could do, we can see that the other person has darker skin. We can see the other person is a male most of the time. Oh, judge it, judge it, judge it. And then we argue over what's left. They take it all. And then we pay for it. And then they come on these calls and tell me I'm this or that or whatever. That's because people don't see what's right in front of it. It's the old British Empire. Divide and conquer. And then they live off the fat. We get the crumbs. We get the grizzle. Wall Street is corrupt. So, in the case of finger motion, we're all beleaguered. We're all beleaguered. I personally believe that finger motion is a intermediate term to long-term investment. I think in the short run, we're in September. There's a couple of catalysts that I'm optimistic on. One, we've been told by Ham, but of course, doesn't matter how many times you hear it, it still comes again, that there is an investment bank in New York who's put finger motion on their calendar. I don't know what that means. I don't think it's an IPO or a secondary. It may be research. It may be a road show. I don't know. But I told you in August, everyone's on vacation. We're now in September. When they come back in September, when you come back in September, do you do the last thing on your list or the first thing when you get back to your desk? I've always been one that does the easiest thing first. That's not true, but I'm making fun of myself. So we're in the middle of September. I expect that whoever that investment bank is to either put out a research
Carol Gilmore
or to quietly accumulate. So that's exciting for Finger. I expect the earnings that gets announced in October will clarify what's going on with their top-up business, MMS, and more importantly, start to discuss the second phase, the monetization phase of these big insurance companies using data. I expect more clarity on the vehicle contract. I expect there may even be another one or two contracts. Then I expect to hear, David, as you bring up, I expect to hear about a financing. I would assume the financing because their revenues and their costs are nearly matched. Nearly matched. I would assume the financing is for purposes of building out that vehicle deal, but it might be for one of these huge data deals. Look up snow. Well, we don't look up snow. We look it up. We hear it's worth 50 billion, but the stock of Finger is still $2. So that's not happening. It must be the dividend. It must be, guys. This is a company, as I noticed, I was screening another investment opportunity over the weekend, and I received the executive summary. It was a summary. I wouldn't call it executive, but I got the summary. I got a link to a couple of the web pages, and I read it with my steel trap of a mind and lightning fast analysis. And I called the guy and I said, what does this company do? I see all this and that and owner, blah, blah, blah. Just tell me the one thing this company does. And he was silent. And I said, did I say something wrong? He said, no, I'm thinking. You asked me a question. And to his credit, he sent me back one paragraph. And he did crystallize it into the one focus of the company. This is the problem with Finger. When you discuss Finger with people, what does it do? Tell me what it is. What kind of company is it? Where is it? China. Oh my God, China. Do you know all the bad things about China? Guys, let me tell you your future. Because Wall Street won't. By the time your grandchildren start sending you money instead of you sending them money, China, Singapore will be the center of worldwide financial markets. Not New York, not London. London, they're very opportunistic. London is like a tick. Right now they're on the American empire. London will become a tick on China. It'll be irrelevant. But a lot of Chinese bankers will live there. The suck-up British, oh yes, right. They'll be working with China, not America. Our bankers, they'll be offshore. They're rich. They're not American banks. These aren't American men that are running it. These are international men. They own their properties in New Zealand and in Monaco and in South Africa or wherever they are. They'll move their business over to China, and you'll read about it in the paper. But if you continue to think that New York is going, and the United States dollar and the United States Fed is going to be able to garnish the exorbitant privilege of the US dollar, you're going to be sadly mistaken. That is going to shift to China. Why? Because they'll have honest markets. We don't have honest markets. But right now the question on Finger is China, 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 war, war, war. Well, guess what, David? My guess on that is we're going to have to wait to see not who is elected president, who is put in as president. If it's Kamala Harris, which I believe it will be, I see it as two paths in the woods. I once went cross-country skiing up in Vermont with a whole thing, and I was always in the front. I was young. I always wanted to be in the front because I hated being with everybody. But there was a woman and a guy that got started before us, and they went first, so no, there wasn't a hard path of skis, so you didn't know where. And the woman she was probably in her 40s or 50s, but she seemed really old to me. She came where there was this big, smooth, clearly a path that had been snowed on, but no one had skied. And there was another path. There were two paths. She didn't know which way to go. Literally, there were two paths. She came upon two paths in the wood. You know what her decision was? She was going at a certain rate of speed. She just went forward and she hit into the tree. I think if Kamala Harris is, and I think she will be, selected to be our president, we're either going to go down the path of cooperation with China, because I think this is all a Chinese operation for the last 2 or 3 decades, and I think it started with Bill Clinton. And even George W. Bush let one of our spy planes be walked down, one of our jets. And now they have as good fighter jets as we do. But it's the education, it's NAFTA, it's the giving them the benefits of being a developing country. It's the patents. Reagan, I was at Merrill Lynch then. Reagan and what was coming down from above, it started the movement. The financialization, taking over steel plants, taking over companies and moving them offshore. That started under Reagan. It accelerated under Clinton. George Bush went along. And I think Obama. Folks did nothing against the banksters. He didn't save a single house. He didn't help blacks, if we can use that term. I hate all those terms. He didn't help African American men in prison. Trump did. But you know what folks did do? He enhanced the Patriot Act, which came in under the neocons of George W. Bush, that popinjay. And now all your money's tracked. Do you know what happens now at Merrill Lynch and all the big banks? You have a social credit score. Do you know where that came from? China. And you know what they're looking for? White straight men. And whether or not you believe Kamala is the greatest, she's the answer, like Harry S. Truman, an unknown vice president who's going to bestride the world like a colossus. Her coitishness isn't going to work on Putin or Xi. It worked on Brown, or whatever his name was, Mayor Brown, because she was younger. I don't know. Is it hard to understand? Men at a certain time in their life are attracted to the base. It's all about the base. But later on, so what is she going to fall back on? Poses, squinting, ridicule, memorized meaningless statements. As bad as what George W. Bush subjected us to. We got to pass this farm bill. Our nation's got to eat. Well, no shite Sherlock, our nation's got to eat. We're being played. We're being played. But anyway, David, to get back on point with Finger, I believe that if you see the vision of Finger as growing in China and Kamala is in charge of the country, there is one path that leads to prosperity for Finger, which is we get along with China. And we continue to allow China to suck the very marrow out of our bones while we turn against each other and we import 21 million people who do, in fact, in some cases, because they're starving, eat animals we wouldn't eat. That's one path. The other path is we go to war with China. David, I think that's a little more problematic. If we went to war with China, and if it lasted very long, that's the problem right now with Victoria Nuland and Blinken and whoever's running the country. Who is running the country? Is it folks? Or is it Goldman Sachs? Who's running the country this last 4 years? But the problem with war is it could be over in 90 minutes. And if anyone survives, the planet will be hell. But if the war lasts a long time and it's somehow constrained, China has something like 270 ships right now in the Philippine seas. We can't keep up. But what we do under Victoria Nuland and the rest, we continue to act as if somehow we're superior. We're not. We're just a country. But if the war lasts a while, David, I don't see how Finger thrives necessarily in that situation. It could, because everyone's going to use their phones. The contracts that Finger Motion is getting right now, it's clear that the Chinese investors in Finger Motion who are securing contracts with what is essentially the Chinese government, they could continue to do so, particularly in the area of data, trying to control movement of population, trying to listen in and see what your population is doing, trying to get data and surveillance on your enemies, building sophisticated response vehicles. It could work that way. But frankly, if we go to war with China, I think Finger would be in trouble. Why? Because I think the Chinese would I don't know, but I think the Chinese would attack us financially as well as in the seas, on the beaches, and in the air. They'll do it over the data systems that move dollars around the world. But if we can ignore that, if Trump gets somehow he gets in, I don't think we're going to go to war with China. We may have some economic back and forth, but I don't think we'll go to war. And business, it'll be back to business, and I think Finger will be fine. So in the scenarios I just gave before the election, I think 3 out of 4 scenarios should be okay for Finger Motion. War, I think, will be a disaster for every stock, except for iron and military and maybe the cigarette companies. I don't know. In terms of the dividend, I expect that to be announced very soon. But it might have been delayed because they got a new auditor. Such is life. Such is life. I expect a financing to be announced, but it might be delayed. I expect more information on the contracts and on the performance of existing contracts. And we know earnings will be announced within the next 4 weeks. I'd say 4 weeks from now. Now, we can choose to worry our ownership of finger motion every single day, or we can make the three choices that any investor can make. Do I add to my position? Or initiate? Do I buy? Do I hold? Or do I sell? If you look at all the information and you own the stock maybe from higher numbers, maybe that's the anxiety, well, then maybe you can do a hybrid. I think it's getting into the category where it's a little bit late to take the risk of tax loss selling now, because these events could come over it could start next week. So while you wait to buy back in for 31 days, you might miss the move. So I think that's kind of off the table. But one thing you could do, sort of modified tax loss strategy, you could buy more now. If you bought finger at $5, buy more finger at $2. And see if the dividend comes that you're waiting for, if a financing comes that you're waiting for, if a research report comes that you're waiting for, if buying comes from an institutional investor, if the contract for the vehicles expands, if there's other contracts, if Pacific Life Re and Munich Re start to actually monetize the data. And then you've got this whole app, which doesn't excite me, but this whole lifestyle app that's into how you can spend your money and recharge your cars and do all those things. Well, we'll find out how all that's growing in October. So you wait for that. You wait and see. If after October, 31 days go by and nothing's happened maybe, well, you sell your original position, take the tax loss, and now with the amount you just added, you keep that. So you're back down to your original position. And tax loss carry forwards are valuable. If you bought 10,000 shares of finger at 5, and let's say you bought 10,000 now at 2, in 31 days, let's say everything's the same, you sell the original position of finger motion at 2, establishing a loss of 3, and you keep the new one at 2. So you're in the same position as you always were, but you've booked a $30,000 loss. Well, let's just stick to finger motion. Let's say the remaining shares of finger, and let's say it doesn't happen this year. Let's say it happens in 6 months. And let's say finger goes to, just for easy arithmetic, let's say it goes to $12, you sell. You've got a $10 profit on 10,000 shares. You got a $100,000 profit. Well, if you live in a high tax state, and if it's, let's assume it's long term, but if Kamala is president, and if she does her administration's policies, which have already been announced, there will be no distinction between short-term and long-term trades. Everything will be taxed at the same. In fact, you might get taxed on your $100,000 profit even if you don't sell. Because she's about fairness, justice. In her world, as in China, you don't stick your head up because it could get chopped off. Everybody's head stays at the same level. You don't call attention. So if you have a $100,000 gain, and let's just say all in it's a 50% tax bracket, and let's ignore the long-term, short-term. You have a 100,000 gain. In the normal world, 50 grand goes out the door. But if you did what I just said, and you could write that $100,000 gain down to a $70,000 gain, because you just matched 30,000 in losses versus 30,000 in gains, you've got a $70,000 gain, not 100,000, for tax reporting purposes. The same 50%, you pay 35 grand in taxes, not 50 grand. It's a savings of 15,000. Take that back to how many shares of finger motion it represented, 10,000 shares. It's $1.50 a share. From this level, what is that, 75% gain on the price here? $1.50 a share on finger is pretty meaningful. But that's something you could do. Now, if I'm wrong, if you add to your position now, and things aren't, and I'm not saying that's my prediction, but things aren't just level. In fact, finger motion has gone to 5, 6, or 7. Well, you might have double the pleasure. You have profits on the one side, and you have recovery on the other side, and you're pleased as punch all around. Nothing has been announced regarding finger except that one of their investors out of China requested that they change their auditors. So you could say, oh my God, it's terrible. This is a terrible investment. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We all have to have our feelings. But I would read that since an investor asked for the change, not the SEC, not FINRA, not a lawsuit, an investor asked for it, I would see that as a prelude to a financing. Well, that was just announced yesterday. So, should the financing be announced today? Probably not, but maybe soon. Earnings we know are coming mid-October, if we can wait that long. And I think the data stream, I don't know what to call it, the monetization of information is coming. And to top it all off, Martin, on his interviews with me and others, he always talked about end of this year, beginning of next year, being a time frame when they hoped, I mean, he didn't promise it, but when they hoped to go positive in earnings. So we can worry it to death every single day, or we can say, you know what, I don't think that stock's going to go down much further. It might. At any time in life, anything can happen. But I hate that I have to wait. I hate that I'm in it after all these years. But it sounds like we had a pandemic that particularly in China, shut everything down for about a year and a half. We had a company in finger motion who did business with one of the criminals of Wall Street, Lind Partners. And that slowed everything down. And now we're slowly waiting for the corn. We planted the seed. We hoed the rows, planted the seeds. The stalks have grown. We dealt with some delay in rain. There's some time where the sun shone too bright. That we had to get rid of some beetles. But finally, the corn cobs are ready for stripping. And that's, I think, where you are with finger. But worrying about it every single day, I just, it's a path to insanity. I think there's other companies out there. If you're in a trading, look, I think I'm going to finish on Finger right now. I think Finger by the end of the year could double your money. It could triple your money. But remember, we're coming into tax loss season as well. And the shorts are going to continue to sell. No. There's systems in place. Okay, there's systems in place. Somebody's selling. It's not the insiders. So it might delay until next year, but time is risk. Is it Kamala? Is it Trump? If it's Kamala, is it war or is it cooperation? We don't know these answers right now. I really think there's a stock all of you guys keep talking about, which Ham's talked about, and I've even acknowledged. That's a stock that might trade. I like logic, David, as a double, triple, quadruple. But if we want to keep focusing on Finger, and I'm not picking on you by any means, there's just so many of these same questions every single day. The fact that a financing takes longer than we thought doesn't mean it's gone. All right, I'm going to stop right there on Finger. I'll quickly say on the stock that he mentioned, which is TNON, that group, Alliance Global. Ham looked at it as a way they all made money, and it was a short squeeze. What I see in that, and I could be wrong, is Alliance Global was a front, and it's not totally different than what Ham's saying, but Alliance Global is a front for the shorts. So they were covering their positions into a new offering. And it happened to also squeeze. Who did it help? The shorts. It's all rigged, guys. It's all rigged. It's all rigged. Okay, I want to go. Somebody asked me about the gold deal. Let me just find him. Oh, you're the jerk that I dislike women in general. My negativity towards women is offensive. Gunkas, have you ever been on a date? Have you ever had a girlfriend? You sound like you're an immature person. I actually love women and I respect women, and I learn a lot in my lifetime from women. The smartest person I know on the planet is my sister. My mother also is extremely smart, but she's also, as I reflect on life, she's also a narcissist, probably. My grandmother was by far, the most wonderful person in the world. And my other grandmother, too. My woman I dated and loved, her grandmother is one of the 2 or 3 people in the world that I admire the most. My aunts, my cousins, my sisters, my kid's sister, who's no longer a kid. Watching her grow up. Nothing but unconditional love and respect and admiration do I have for her. Her integrity, her brains, her hard work. Her children, her daughter was accepted at the United States Naval Academy for this year. And I'm in awe of that. Awe of it. I think the greatest woman, the greatest person who ever lived, the greatest human being who ever lived, was Mary, the Virgin Mother of God. Christ was both God and man, so he's in his own category of excellence, or that seems like too small a word. The people I worked with, the women I dated, the teachers I had, all women. Nothing but respect for them. But Gunkus, because you have never dated a woman and you're not much of a critical thinker, the things I have discussed, which you're not intellectual. I'm not saying I am, but you're not a thinker. You're just I think that there's been a move. Oh, what was that book? Kate, I can almost think her last name. Anyway, it began with an M, I think. Not Middleton, Kate. Anyway, she wrote a book on feminism, which a girlfriend made me read 40 years ago, which I read. But feminism's been around, I guess, forever, but sort of 100 years. But it's changed, Gunkus. It's changed. I grew up in a time when men and women were given the same, at least my mother always pointed this out, and I think she's right. Men and women who had access to education, high school, college, and further, were given the same opportunities, given the same. In fact, I'm someone, as I went through it, women were actually given more opportunities. But hey, that's a leveling up. I mean, you got to do something. If you look at it, women always were left out in previous generations. But feminism has changed, Gunkus. You now have women using their sexual allure, and men do it too with sports, hunky, but it works. The fans only. The Kim Kardashian made herself a billionaire. It's all sex. It's all it is. But hey, I'm not judging it. It's just a different kind of feminism. When I grew up, feminism was about women not being treated as sex objects. Now, not only are women treated as sex objects, women rush to allow themselves to be treated as sex objects. I don't think that's a great strategy. But to talk with someone like you who has no critical thinking, you think it's offensive to bring that point up. Things have changed. And in the case of Kamala Harris, I don't see, just like with Hillary Clinton, by the way, but I can give you men after men after men who got promoted. Dan Quayle, George W. Bush. He was elected because people thought they were voting for his father. Al Gore got a jump start in life because of his father. So people get places where they don't deserve to get because of certain advantages. But it just happens, Gunkus, that the person running now, not a month ago, but now, for the Democratic Party is a woman. And it so happens she got where she is, a combination. She's got balls and she has a presentation style. She knows how to ridicule. But it was also sex. She slept with the right guy. Look, John Kerry had no money. He married one wealthy woman and then a second wealthy woman. And now he lives like a king. So it happens both ways, Gunkus. But if you find it offensive, I think that shows how puny your brain is. And I'm not going to apologize to you. I do apologize to women out there if I came across as negativity towards women. I just don't hold women, although part of me does. I don't hold women as some part of our species that is exempt from being human being. I think women can be evil, women can be holy, and everything in between, just like men, just like men. I do think there's some differences in temperament. I think depending on what you believe, whether it's 100,000 years or 2 or 3 million years of evolution, has ingrained certain neurological, physiological, certain behaviors in men which are different than behaviors in women. Is that offensive? I don't think so. But if you're offended, you know what, Gunkus? I'm almost pleased you're offended. I find you to be a very small-minded person, a very limited. I wonder, when's the last time you read a book? And what was the title of the book? And what were your critical thoughts on it? When's the last time you sat down and listened to somebody who had a completely different viewpoint than you do? When's the last time, Gunkus, you were kind to anybody? Do dogs like you? Do cats like you? Do they come up to you? I doubt it. I doubt it. All right, I want to get to this gentleman here. I'm with a broker. What should my discussion with regards to finger? I think the main thing you got to do, Patrice, is put in GTC orders. That if you put in a good to cancel order to sell, and let's say you put it out at, I don't know, I'm making it up, $50, which I think's optimistic right now. But if you put it out, they can't lend out your shares, and that's something you could do. Is Finger share price controlled by an algorithm? Ham, I've asked Ham that. Ham thinks it's people doing it. I personally, Jim, think Finger's under control, and I think all trading on Wall Street is, even the big firms, they direct money into pools of managed money. I think all trading is done by quants. It's done by computers, and I think Finger's trading is mostly by computer right now. Doesn't mean it's not illegal. It doesn't mean it's not manipulated. Let me just find this gentleman. There it is. All right, Doug. The offering that was available in this gold company, technically it's still available, but for all intents and purposes, it's closed. The company is no longer making an effort to raise money under that offering, and I'm not even making any uh, uh, representation that it's available. I mean, I can introduce you to the company, but they raised enough money to carry the company all the way, I think, through. Now, when I say that, I saw the budget about a month ago, and it was through January, to my memory. They've raised more money, so I think it goes well into the first quarter. So the company is not trying to actively seek further financing on that transaction, Doug. Now, I negotiated, and I haven't talked about it. Now that I want to be clear, I think they'd still take money, but I am not. You're asking me for an update. I am not trying to say to you that this is available and hey, look at it. It's now September. I've moved on from that process. However, I do think, because I don't want to make something up, to my knowledge, they haven't, closed the gate. So I do think that if someone were to still have interest, they might take that. But anyway, my role is not in that context. So, Doug, what I did on that offering, it was at 4 cents a share, and I negotiated that everybody, and I didn't talk about it, but I negotiated that everybody who came in would get a warrant for the same amount. Now, I know that causes confusion, but a warrant is just a right to additional shares at that same price. It was a 5-year warrant. So in essence, it was double the shares for the same amount of money. I think for me, just a brilliant opportunity and a great investment. Risk reward, just off the charts. There is risk. There's risk in everything we do and every stock. But anyway, Doug, just to put that out there, I don't think that'll ever be available again. Now, I'm trying to remember the last time I talked about the possible outcomes. But to me, when I first started suggesting it, I think there were 4 outcomes. One, that the stock would go to 0, which I think, that can happen with any stock. But in this case, I don't see that as happening. To me, that's off the table. That's not a promise, that's a prediction, but it'll become more and more clear as I keep talking. 0 means they don't find the gold, the company goes out of business, bankruptcy. Anything can happen. People can argue. Financing deals can disappear, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, I don't know. Well, by my view, maybe it's a 5% chance that happens. The price paid is 4 cents a share. And I just told you, it's actually, you also have a right to double that. Okay, so then the other three scenarios. So your risk side, the number 1 scenario is the risk, is to go from 4 cents to 0. That's kind of like, how much cheaper could that get? Guess they could have priced it at 3 cents or 2 cents or 1 cent. But remember, you do have the warrant, the 5-year warrant in there. So anyway, 4 cents to 0. That's the risk. So the other scenarios are reward. Predictions, possibilities, not promises. And I think how I broke it down I can't, Doug, I can't quite remember how I broke it down. But on the reward side, it would be to sell the company now. And I'll talk about that in a second. Thirdly, to sell the company after the pilot plant is put in place and is producing. And fourthly, after the pilot plant, you could do a joint venture or self-produce the gold. Okay, under the category of sell now, this company is controlled by probably I'd say as few as 15 investors if they all vote together. But it might be more. It might be 25. So that's something we can't control. And the company, Doug, had raised over time, and I have done no forensic study of this. I've just been told this. I believe it. It's a number I hear a lot. They've raised something like $75 million for the company over time. So these investors who control the company are older. Many are in their 80s. They are wealthy. So this investment makes very little difference in their lives or in their estate planning. And they mostly will follow the leader, and there's one guy whose opinion carries weight. Now, they're also all gold bugs. They all love the stories. So, and they're all very smart. They're all highly educated, analytical, most are financially wise. You know, in the investment, they made their bones in the investment side of life. Others, it's, you know, oil and gas business, doctors and lawyers and such. So we got the company, I'm using the royal we got an offer from a group back in February. The name of the group is slipping my head, but I couldn't tell you anyway. And this was the parameters of the deal. And I told you about it in broad stroke. A very wealthy gentleman worth, I think he has a company that does 150 million annually, or he's worth 150 million. Very wealthy guy in the resource space. He came and made an offer of my company, will pay for the development, will pay the debt, will develop the company, will cover all costs from here. Essentially, his offer was, we'll take over the entirety of the project, and we'll give you a 2.5% override. Now, an override, there's two kinds in oil and gas. I don't know exactly the wordings in mining, but in oil and gas, there's an override, an ORRI, an overriding royalty interest. Basically, it comes off the top. And then there's a working interest, which you both have to put up money, and you also join in the costs and all that definition. Well, in mining, that first one, I don't think exists. I've never seen it. But they have what's called a net smelter revenue interest, which I was involved in for an investor in, and with a lawyer, a lot of study of. I'm not an expert, but I learned about it. But a net smelter interest, it's not quite off the top. It's not quite off the top. But it is off the top in the sense, okay, let's use this gold company. You put it in the pilot plant. You heat the material. You concentrate it. You break it out. You put it into solution. It comes out a solution, and there's the gold. That process, under a net smelter interest, the cost of that process would come out first, and then the next payment is to you, me. That's the net smelter revenue. So anyway, they offered that 2.5%. That's my memory, and I'm not trying to mislead. It's just my memory, and I can't bring the document out because that's all privileged. And guess what, Doug? The shareholders said, okay, why not? We'll do it. That was not a final vote. That was, let's move forward. Well, the guy that was offering it capped that net smelter interest. He capped it at $100 million. Well, that worked out to $0.20 a share. That deal worked out to 20 cents a share. And it would have been a little bit over time, probably pretty quick, because the 100 million probably could have come out in the first years very quickly. But it capped the deal at 20 cents. Well, now I made some phone calls. I made my feelings known. But I'm not a major shareholder on the scale of these people. I have a big position for me that I accumulated over the last 15 years, 14 years. But I'm not in their league. So they voted it down, thank gosh. They voted it down. So that was off the table. Informally, not a formal offer, informally, that same guy came back, and informally, it wasn't finalized, he was willing to raise the cap to 40 cents a share. But it didn't get anywhere. I think the view on the part of the investors is we don't like the cap. So that was gone. So this is what's been pursued now, Doug, is to raise the 5 million, build out the pilot plant, and then produce. I think the number is 34 tons a day is the goal. Produce gold for a week, because that'll be all it takes for the excitement to get in there. But produce gold for a week, a month, 3 months, and prove that the two processes they have are commercial and they can produce at a commercial level. So that's what's been going on now. Now, my information, because I'm trying to raise the 5 million myself, is that there is a group, and this has been going on now for at least 90 days. And remember, no one wants to believe it, wealthy people take July and August off. They really do. Many of them. So anyway, it's been going on for maybe the last 4 months, actually. Sort of April, May, June, July, August. That's 5 months. And there were many meetings, visits to the site. And the last I heard, that commitment was agreed, $5 million. And the company was moving forward. I have no reason to believe that's not still available. But I'm going to get to something that gives me a question as to whether it's the same group. I don't know. But as far as I know, that deal is moving forward. The commitments are made, and that 5 million is coming in. And that's really a good deal for all of us. But let me leave what that could be while I talk about something else. Now, today, in fact, I'm going to hear about another offer to just buy the project now before it goes to pilot plant. My understanding, I haven't seen it, so I'm speculating. My understanding is it will be a net smelter revenue of 5% with no cap. But I don't know that. And so Doug, my question will be, if I'm asked, I have this call in about an hour and a half, why not get through production in the pilot plant? We could sell the company then and still demand a 5% royalty. I don't know what the answer is going to be. So before I get into what this would be after the pilot plant, let's just look at another example of selling now with no cap at 5%. And I don't know how the vote's going to go. I'm going to be against it, but I'm like Groucho Marx. Whatever it is, I'm against it. I'm a little bit like that because I think they should produce it themselves. I think it's a huge asset. Okay, so Doug, I don't I'm going on so long. I'm not going to show you. I'm going to try to have a call. I doubt it'll be right away. I'd say at least 2 weeks from now because I want to have more information, Doug. But I want to have a Zoom call that's limited just to the investors who joined the investment so that guys like Gunkus aren't invited. And then I can talk about women. disparage women to my delight without him hearing. It is funny though, in Ireland, yeah, I don't know. All right, I can't show you this whole. I can't show you the whole research report, Doug, because it'll say too much. So maybe I can just wave it. Here's this research report was written in 2018. So 6 years ago. And this one was written a year earlier in 2017, so 7 years ago. Now, nothing has changed. These are older reports, but everything came to a halt because the guy doing all this lives in Canada, and this project's in Nevada. So what can I say on YouTube? The economic shutdown, the pandemic, stopped everything for, I don't know, 2.5 years. They just put it all into. Why? You couldn't fly across the borders. Also, Doug, there was an earthquake. So this destroyed the pilot plant. But very interestingly, my understanding is it vibrated the resource and it opened a crack in the resource, so that what I'm about to tell you not only is confirmed, it's probably bigger. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on the research report other than to say to you that the resource, which is sand with nano gold, it's refractory sand, the Carlin trend is right next door, nano invisible gold. I'm not sure it's it has a refractory coating, but I don't know that for sure. But this is the trend that made Nevada. Let me see if I can read that to you. This is the Carlin trend, according to this analyst. Playas, which are these big desert sands, are giant solar collectors and concentrators of metals. As the little bit of water is evaporated, it brings water up from below and it's evaporated, brings more water up by surface tension, and that's evaporated. So the metals are concentrated in these large playas. So playas are giant solar collectors and concentrators of metals, powered by the largest furnace in our solar system, obviously the sun. And these playas with the sun process the metals over millions of years. So assaying and processing these sands, he expects, will be similar to the Carlin trend, the Carlin discovery in the early 1960s of sub-micron gold. That discovery revolutionized the world gold mining industry. And that Carlin trend, when this was written, accounts for half the world's gold production today. Nevada. I think it's changed now over the last couple of years, but that's huge. That's the Carlin trend. And so he goes on to say that this project has that base, I'm summarizing, has that magnificent potential. All right, so Doug, I'm sorry, I want to get to the point here. There's where this is a giant caldera. It's an extinct volcano. But there's the sands. But deeper, there's brine, there's seawater deeper, and there's clay. So there's potentially gold in the clay. There's gold in the brines, but we're just ignoring that because it's by the time any of us live long enough, it's probably not relevant. But also because the process is not designed yet for it. So, but it's those resources are huge, potentially huge. They could double what I'm about to say, potentially. Or they could be, it might not work. So let's just leave them off. Let's leave them off. If we just look at the sands, the company drilled a decade ago under third-party eyeballs something like 34 sonic drill wells, or they're not wells. They sonically drilled something around 30, a little over 30 holes down to 200 feet. And they proved up 174 million ounces of sand, which is the resource. Now, simultaneously, they drilled a handful of wells down, holes down to 400 feet, and they discovered that the sand goes deeper. Well, the earthquake, Doug, showed that yes, indeed, that those sands very likely not only go down to 400 feet, they might go down to 600 feet and deeper. And then it showed the water in the brine down below. But there might be lithium there. There's palladium and silver here as well. But we're just focusing on the gold. So, according to him, this analyst, in the sands down to 200 feet and drilling, because it's blanket, drilling between the two zones they drilled 10 years ago, drilling between them and outward on the entire 2.5 square miles, that would give 500 tons of sand. Now, if they drill down to 400 feet, which they will, that's the use of the proceeds, they could go down to 600 feet just to have a look-see. But if they drill evenly, that could be 1 billion tons of sand. Now, and remember, he said it could go, not this guy, the other guy I spoke with, could go down to 600 feet or more. But anyway, there are sands beyond just the 2.5 square miles. They could go out to the entire 4.8 square miles. There's the clays, and there's the clays could double the existing reserves, and he's starting from a smaller base. But the point is, that's extra. I'm not counting that. And then the brine could also, I forget, oh, here it is. The brines can be pumped up for no money, very little. You don't know for sure if the brines have more or less. You won't know that. But all he says is the brines are the major source of the metals as the water is drawn to the surface. The brines could be richer than the sands we're talking about, but we don't know that for a fact. So we're leaving that out as well. So anyway, Doug, I'm going to use the billion, but I'm not telling you that that's necessarily what they'll find out over time. But I'm going to use the billion. I'm leaving out the brine, and I'm leaving out the clays, and I'm leaving out drilling down to the 600 feet. So what I'm trying to show you with this example is two things. I don't think the stock's ever going to see zero. The company's ever going to see zero again. I mean, it never did, but anyway, I don't think that projection should be on the table. Okay, I just have to type one, Doug. Um, and admittedly, this is the high end of the sands at 400 feet. You just don't know till you go back and drill more. But what do we have? What information do we have? We don't have anything to work with other than research reports and previous data and our brains. So, let me circle that. So anyway, Doug, one of the use of proceeds is going to be to drill and expand the resource and do it with third-party eyeballs. So at 0.20 recovery, which is what the pilot plant should prove out, 0.20 ounces of gold per ton recovered, that's 200 million ounces of gold. That is unbelievable. I'm almost, I never said it before, but now that the deal's over, I feel like I can tell you. 200 million ounces. That is of gold. It's huge. Now, you don't know how much you could produce every year, but Wall Street will give most of that value to that. All right, if it doesn't prove out and you just have the standard caustic fusion method, it could be as high as 38 million ounces of gold. Now, in this scenario, I believe, and I can't promise it, but the Barrick Gold Newmont site, Gold Strike, 100 miles away in Nevada, approximately, they process the Carlin Trend sands at 0.03%. So they could just buy this and process this gold in the existing facility they have. I don't know what they pay, but it wouldn't be zero. It wouldn't be zero. At the 200 million at 20 cents, let me just give you that calculation, and then we'll haircut it. And Doug, I emphasize, this is all speculation. This is a mental exercise at this point. But the fact that people are interested is very comforting. And that the fact that there's 5 million that's committed, whether it's the same group or not, it's just great news. But anyway, on the 200 million, if we use today's gold prices and assume the net revenue, the after cost, is 2,000 an ounce, that over time, Doug, would be, and again, I'm going to the best scenario. Over time would be 400 billion, 400 billion with a B. Now, if we agreed a 5% override, that would be $20 billion over time to us. $20 billion. 20 billion. Yeah, 20 billion. That's what came up. I did the arithmetic. All right. So let me just do it again to make sure, Doug, I didn't type it in wrong. $200 million ounces times 2,000 net times 0.05. Yeah, 20 billion. Now, does that take 50 years to get out of the ground, or 5? It won't be 5. The thing is, Doug, with this kind of agreement in place, the company could start trading again, and Wall Street will discount that future revenue, not by much of a discount, because gold reflects inflation pretty well. So you could just have it show up in the stock price. Now, Doug, the interesting thing is the company wouldn't sell any more shares. I don't know what the accurate share count is right now. Probably around, well, the authorized shares are 400 million. You got to assume it'll be a little higher than that. But let's just use 400 million. So that's $50 a share, Doug, over time from that deal. Now let's haircut it. Let's haircut it. I'll show you one way after I finish this, but let's haircut that. Let's just take 10% of that. It's worth $5 a share. And by taking 10%, I'm doing two things. I'm just risking it massively. But I'm also assuming that you're looking at revenue. You want your cash flow. You want to count what's in the first years. You don't want to wait forever. That's one way to do it. Let me show you one other way. If we assume that, you can produce 1 million ounces a year. I don't know if that's high or low. And you use the same 2,000 net revenue. That's $2 billion a year. Times 5%. It's 100 million a year to the company. 100 million a year. Now, let's use 400 million. That's not enough, but it's approximate, and that's the authorized shares right now. It's the only number I know for sure. That works out to 25 cents a share per year, just based on producing 1 million ounces a year. I don't know if that's low or high. I think it's low. So that would be 25 cents per share per year. If you divide it by 12 months, it's 2 cents a share per month. So if you owned 500,000 shares, it's 10 grand a month coming in, 10 grand a month. And that would be there for, I think, as long as any of us live. Okay, so that, I think, and I'm speculating, I think that's going to be the offer made. That's one of the sell now candidates. Now, if we go down to sell after the pilot plant, I'm not going to bore you, but I did the arithmetic, and I tried to be very conservative. I think it would double our return if let's say they built the pilot plant and produce gold over the next 6 months or so, if they got financed right away. I think the most conservative case, you would double that return. So for me, the smarter thing would be to build out the plant, then sell. Because you could, I think you'd still get that 5% override. There's no guarantee, of course. Everything's a negotiation. But what could happen is that the sale could come out, and I'm just going to do it by memory because I want to move along. The sale could come out at anywhere from $1 to $4 or $5 a share. It could come out at $10 a share, and you get the 5% override. So that's what I'm going to push for. But people have their reasons for voting the way they do. The risk is, well, we got to take this deal now, because what if it doesn't work? Well, in both cases, we're going to share in that risk. But I already showed you that I think worst case, they could just sell the sand over to Gold Strike. And I don't know if I calculated that. It was like 30 million ounces times I don't know. It might be around $6, $7, $8 a share, using the smaller amount of gold. And then you got to discount that, which I've done in the past for you, and I called it $4. I'd stick by that. That worst case, they could sell that for around $4 a share. But anyway, we've got to get through this offer and the vote. Now, that's the third option, is to sell after the pilot plant and keep an override. Worst case, like I just said, maybe $4 a share. in my previous arithmetic, I came up with $40 a share. It could be more than that. So you could sell it for anywhere from $4 to $40, $50 a share, stock and cash, and keep an override. So the fourth option is doing a joint venture or self-produce. And I'm not going to go through the arithmetic on that, but I came up with a number there, Doug, of $80 to as high as, almost any number. Almost any number. $100, $200 a share over time. More than that. But I'll stick with $80. So those are the ranges. I'm very excited, Doug. The fact that the pilot plant is financed is terrific. I got to find out today in an hour, well, actually 2 hours, but I want to get ready for it. What's on offer? And maybe nothing. But I'm really excited about it, Doug. That's all the update I can give you. As soon as it's financed, they can move forward with building out, refurbishing, and improving the pilot plant. They can go to production. And in either scenario, with success, I would imagine we'd start seeing income next year. And then for the rest of our lives. So that's my update. All right, Nunya. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's elected. I'm in love with Kamala. Well, I do look at her and see what people see in her. But she's 60 now. She's not 26. I disparage women, and women allow me to say horrible things about you, and hopefully yeah, I hope I don't come across that way. I really do. I do take the risk of yeah, there you go. PS 71. Yes, that's exactly right. And I think the numbers are big. Let me just summarize it for Doug. And I'm going to stop here because it's 2 o'clock, and I want to have something. I've got a couple of calls to make. I want to have something to eat and then get ready for the conference call. But PS 71. The scenarios I listed before were 0. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, it could. There's always risk, but I don't think 0. 40 cents, which was based on a new offer being capped. I changed my mind on that. I think and now I forgot what I said to Doug, but I think over time, I think I remember it was 2 cents a share per month. So 0.02 times 12. At the low end, 24 cents per share per year times, I don't know, it could go on forever, 20 years. Yeah, $4 or $5 a share. And the thing is, the company then could go public, could start trading again, and I think that would show up in the stock price. So I think 0. Selling it now just for an override could be $4 or $5 over time, but maybe realized when the stock starts publicly trading. So let's call that 4. And the other choice is to sell it after the pilot plant produces. I don't know what number that they would give us, but let's just say $4 a share, because that's a big number. $4 a share plus we get $4 a share. So let's just call it $8. $4 right away, $4 over time. The best thing to do would be to JV it or self-produce, and I think $80 a share would come out in a short economic time frame. What is that time frame? I don't know. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But whatever that economic projection, that could be created by an engineering firm. And then you take that number, you pretend that production stops in 20 years, although it won't. And then you can discount it to a present value. And then if the stock's trading or if you sell it, you use that. So it's pretty exciting. I know there's too much, there's not specificity in the offer, which I hope to have. And obviously we don't have the specifics on how the pilot plant will work out or how the third party proof of resource will work out. But I'm really excited, PS71. However it turns out, it's going to be, I think, a tremendous source of income or a upfront payment with a tremendous source of income or just a kick-ass revenue machine. So that's how I see it. But that's not a promise. That's a prediction, I guess. All right, it's 2:00. Let's just see where the stocks are trading. Nunya, I don't want Nunya. I'm going to open up later tonight. I'm going to open up a separate live so I can disparage women in general, not a specific person who happens to be a woman. And oh gosh. Let me see if I can give you some prices. There's a lot of green on the screen, except for finger. Let's see how logic is. I heard a little bit about logic, by the way, but I'm not sure I'm allowed to say it. But it was a glitch. Well, that's the wrong word. There was one item which could have been major if it had stayed out there, but it's been resolved. It was resolved a couple of days ago. Not anything to do with revenue or acquisitions or anything. It's just a transitional item which hit a snag, and they solved it. So to the extent that anything is going to be moving forward, they can move forward. And Nunya, I'm not going to talk about it now because I'm running out of time, but one thing that my brother sent me that got me really nervous, but it's 12 hours ago. And I don't know, 15 hours ago, he sent me, Vladimir Putin issued a stark warning to the West, stating that if Ukraine is permitted to use long-range missiles to strike deep within Russian territory, it would effectively mean that the United States and NATO would become direct enemies of Russia, making the United States and NATO legitimate military targets. The question, this is from Shadow of Ezra, the question is, will the United States government start World War III before Election Day? Yeah, I'm in love with Mamala. All right, so I'm going to sign off. I wish everyone well, and we'll catch up on the flip side. Cheers.